Our first order of business is to adjourn from our executive session. Could I please get a motion?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn from executive session.
Is there a second?
A second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Mrs. King, could you please, I want to welcome everyone to the June 12th, 2024 regular meeting of our governing board. Mrs. King, could you please do our roll call?
Barb Hoskin.
Here?
Here. David Melvin.
Here.
Joel Ward.
Here.
Fred Lord.
Here.
Thank you. Would everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Tonight we have a recognition for Basha AMS Academic Pentathlon. Stephanie Ingersoll, our Executive Director of Marketing and Communication, will introduce the Basha AMS Academic Pentathlon team. Mrs. Ingersoll.
President Mazden, Governing Board members, Superintendent Narducci, Cabinet, we would like to bring in the Basha AMS Academic Pentathlon team. This team won first in the nation. On top of that, the 7th grade team won the Super Quiz, and the 6th and 8th grade teams came in second in the Super Quiz. And they are under the direction of Joanne Wuthrich. So they have all their medals and trophies and banners with them this evening.
Mr. Narducci, there are clinkers and there are clunkers, and we're glad to be the clinkers. So I would like to thank the board for inviting us here tonight. I present to you the 2024 U.S. Academic Pentathlon National Champions for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade respectively. Academic Pentathlon is akin to the football team at AMS Basha. We had a total of 140 students start the year in our club. Standing before you are some of the 44 students who worked hours and hours after school and on their own at home, studying 5 subjects: math, science, social science, literature, and fine arts, around the theme of technology and humanity. The success that they experienced this year was accomplished based on both the solid foundation and excellent education that CUSD provides, as well as their sincere ability to make goals and work hard to keep them. We would like to thank the staff at Basha High School, and most especially Mrs. Sharina DeCaro, our incredibly supportive Dean of Students, as well as our head principal, Marcus Reichel, and our assistant principals, Michelle Good, JJ Chandler, and Eric Magana, without whose support we could not have attained the pinnacle of the champions for the 4th year in a row. But please note, this is the first time that our students have been able to accomplish their goal of winning in each respective grade level. I would also like to thank Mrs. Allison Ekren and Mrs. Lissa Kraft and Miss Beth Gaffney, whose assistance to AMS ACPEN was invaluable. We thank the school district and its officers for their support and in encouraging Chandler students to reach for honor and scholarship and being extraordinary. I present you the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade Academic Pentathlon National Champions. Thank you. We go way back. Let's go, we won't say 28 years, but shh. Oh, I think I had a little more. Just didn't have the experience and wisdom.
So thank you for the exceptional job you do as well in support of the AMS program. This is unheard of.
Congratulations. Great job. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you for coming. Congratulations. Yeah. Congratulations.
I'll go ahead and start moving on with our meeting. Mr. Narducci, is there any correspondence this evening?
Madam President, there is no correspondence at this time.
Thank you. So would you like to start with your current events?
Sure, this is my section, right?
Yes.
So, members of the board, we have much to share with you this evening. First, we're a little more, I can't believe it, than a month away from the start of the 24-25 school year. I wanted to say that after the kids were all gone. And for the kids that are in the audience that go to Chandler schools, I know it's a short summer, and just have fun while you can. I wanted to share a few things with our community that they should be looking for over the next couple months as we prepare. If your child needs transportation next school year and you're at a school that is eligible for transportation, please take a moment to register. Details on how to register can be found on the transportation webpage. And it's really important so that we can account for our routing and then make sure that our kids are bused. What I do want to say is if you have a disagreement in the routing, please work with our routing department. They're more than welcome to help you with that, because sometimes as roadways go, we don't have all the information that you may have. And so they will work with you. They have done a great job in doing that for all of our bus riders. And so I want to thank our transportation department as well. As you know, the beginning of the year is a very hectic time for all, but they're prepared and ready to go. The information you provide them will help our kids be safe. Speaking of transportation, we're excited to bring the Here Comes the Bus app to CUSD families for the 24-25 school year. This is brand new. Here Comes the Bus allows families to track real-time location of their child's bus, which is pretty cool. It helps reduce wait times, and also families will get notifications when the bus is near or the schedule has changed. I don't know how many parents are in the room right now that always wondered where the bus was, and they're calling the school and other parents are calling the school, so it gets a little frustrating, right? So messaging will be sent home shortly about this app and how to sign up. So we just need to make sure, and I'm going to say this a few times today, make sure your information is correct in the parent portal, because that's the information that we use when we send out our messenger reports. Parent Square, if you haven't heard about it, we had a lot of pilot schools this year. We had much success with it. It'll be the official school tool for unified school-to-home communications. The district will be sending mass messaging on the details of Parent Square very soon, and look for follow-up information to come from each of the school sites. Parent Square is going to enable you as the parent to look one place for all the information coming from your school. Right now, we have heard from parents on feedback that they get a barrage from athletic programs, from fine arts programs, from other individuals, from individual teachers, from the school, newsletters, etc. Parent Square will be the one-stop shop where we get information out. So it's going to take a little bit because it's a culture change. And so our staff is working toward that, and we're looking forward to starting it throughout the whole district starting the new year. We have a new webpage on CUSD80.com titled A Guide to Solve a Problem. And this gives you the steps to report issues and or get questions answered directly from the individuals who can assist to solve the problem. Messaging will go out on that as well. It's a great tool to be able to say, I've got this concern at my school, who can solve it? A lot of times we send that problem to people that can't solve it. We believe that those that can solve the issues are those that are closest to it to make the difference and impact. That's why this is going to help, because people can see right on there, I have a problem with bus, I have a problem with transportation, school supplies, I need help with immunization. It can tell you exactly in the district who to start with. So we're hoping that also helps, and that was a lot of input that came to us as well that we were trying to resolve. The point is here that we have many exciting updates for improvements of the 24-25 school year, so please check Infinite Campus to ensure your contact information is correct so you can receive the information as well. This week, CUSD, in partnership with the University of Arizona, has been running a camp to introduce students in 9th and 10th grades to the semiconductor industry. This week, they visited Microchip, NXP, Cirrus Logic, as well as on Friday they will visit Edwards Vacuum. The camp is the beginning of a very exciting journey that CUSD is on with the University of Arizona and EVIT to build pathways for students into careers in the semiconductor manufacturing industry. And I was on an advisory panel with Intel just before this meeting, and the professor, Dr. Folks at the university, was talking about that to the advisory, and they will be visiting the camp actually tomorrow. So that thing, if you remember past meetings, it's sold out like, I mean, didn't sell it, selling it, but it filled up like that. So we know there's more interest there. At Hartford today, McCarthy Building Company presented our future kindergarten students, and they presented, as a construction company, the team read to students and used crafts to show students how engineering, math, and science are a big part of everyday life. As we look at career development, we know we start early, and our industry and partners are more than anxious to share. We'd like to celebrate also 4 members of Team CUSD, Basha High School Principal Marcus Rachel, Dr. Wendy Nance, our Associate Superintendent for Human Resources and Communications, and our district custodian right here at this district office, Ron Spoon, and our Fry Elementary teacher, Angelica Abbey. All are recipients of the 2024 Chandler Chamber Community Awards. These 4 team members and their families attended a special dinner and ceremony in their honor. Congratulations for all that you do to in our schools and our district, as well as our community. A big thank you is out to the Chandler Chamber, who is supportive of quality education in CUSD, as well as a premier partner with the City of Chandler's economic growth and development. When we all move together as a city with economic growth and with our community, schools benefit from that. We can see that happens, they're hand in hand. Also, I want to remind our community that we have free summer meals that are continuing to be offered through CUSD Food and Nutrition. All kids and teens 18 years old and younger can receive breakfast and lunch. Here are the locations. We have them at Chandler High School. You can see them up on the board there. Anderson Junior High School, Foley Pool, which is in Foley Park, Arrowhead Pool, which is in Arrowhead Park. And those locations are open, and kids just need to be able to be there to be served the food. Finally, if you or someone you know has a student ready for kindergarten, enroll them in the best. CUSD is accepting enrollments for next school year. Just head to our website and begin the process. Our school year begins, you ready for this? July 17th. So that's like a weekend away. No. We have about a month more, but we are starting July 17th. So for us, it's a quick turnaround, and so for many of us, we're still here. So I want to remind our community when schools shut down for a little bit, the district office is still open, so if you need any assistance, please come by here. Thank you very much, Barbara. That was the update.
Thank you, Mr. Narducci. I believe that also you are going to introduce some new administrators.
I am. And we have a lot of them right in the room here today with their families. So I'll tell them as I introduce you, I'll say a little something about you. Hopefully it's nice and kind and very reflective of what you told us, right? And then after that, you'll have a chance to go to the mic if you'd like and introduce those that are with you, or and just introduce yourself to the board a little bit. So the first person I'd like to bring up is Jacob Archibek. Jacob, there you are. Jacob says Jacob will be the new dean at Chandler High School. Jacob says he is very excited to be working in Chandler Unified School District next school year. He grew up in Colorado and is a huge Denver Broncos fan. Sorry, we're going to have to get some red for you, okay? He's been married for 10 years, and his wife, Ricky, is going to be a teacher in the district next year as well. So we got 2 for 1, which is awesome, or 2 for 2. They have an 8-year-old son who's going to start in CUSD next year as well. Thank you. Jacob says he really loves the Valley and is looking forward to building relationships with students and staff. And his parting comment was, "Go Wolves!" So, which is awesome. Great to have you here.
Thank you. So thank you for having me, Board Superintendent. I appreciate the opportunity to speak a little bit tonight. First, I want to introduce my wife. My wife, Ricky. She'll be teaching social studies at Chandler High School.
Oh, great.
And then my son, Cruz, right there. He's probably going to start at Knox, hopefully, if there's a spot for him. So, like I was saying, my son will hopefully start at Knox if there's an opening. Otherwise, he'll go to Shumway, which is near our house. We just moved here from the White Mountains, Pine Top Lakeside, so it's a little bit of a heat shock for us, but we're excited. We're excited to be here. A lot of great things happening at Chandler. We just wanted to contribute and keep the good things going. So thank you all so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jacob, and welcome to our family. Jacob, just remember, it's a dry heat, like my oven. Jennifer, it's Josh. Josh, thank you. I should have put a little swish on the top of it. Is excited to join the Chandler Unified Community as the Dean of San Marcos Elementary. And Becky, thank you for being here. A graduate of Arizona State University, Jennifer holds both a bachelor's in elementary education and a master's in elementary leadership. Her teaching career began 12 years ago in the Madison School District, and she spent the past 4 years as a district math specialist and instructional coach in Tempe Elementary School District. Jennifer is highly involved in the larger education community, serving on the board of the Arizona Association for Teachers of Mathematics, providing professional development as a teacher leader for the Impacts program, and serving as a local Teachers Association leader in the past few districts. She is eager to bring her knowledge and expertise to San Marcos Elementary and the larger Chandler community. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Board and Superintendent. I am actually joined tonight by my mom, Janice, who's a retired educator, and my brother, Bennett, who happens to be an adjunct at ASU as well. Oh, wow. So education runs in the family, and I'm really excited to be joining Chandler and San Marcos, and just want to say thank you for having me.
Thank you. So I know the number to call when I have an educational question. That goes K through 16, okay, which is fantastic. Thank you. Shelley Heath, is Shelley here? Shelley Heath will be joining us as the principal of Riggs Elementary School. Shelley has been a teacher and administrator in both Colorado and Arizona. Keep getting that Colorado connection tonight. For the past 24 years, she has been principal in the Mesa Public School District. Shelley says being a principal is the best career in the world, and she feels so blessed to have this opportunity each day. Shelley and her husband, who is a retired elementary school principal as well, have 2 amazing daughters who are both school administrators. We can claim Kristen because she's a dean in CUSD, and Kathy is a principal in the Higley Unified School District. Their son-in-law, James, is the superintendent of the Tempe Elementary School District, and I can say James and I are friends. So, and that had no influence over your interview, believe me. So Shelley says she is part of a family who loves education. Shelley and her husband are also immensely proud grandparents to 4 adorable children. They are the light of their lives, and 2 of those little ones have seen the light because they attend Chandler schools.
They do.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
Welcome, Shelley.
Thank you. Thank you, Governing Board. Thank you, Mr. Narducci. I'm so excited to lead the Riggs community, and I know we're going to have an amazing school year next year. I'm just super excited to get started and meet all those darling kids. Again, my husband, Russ, my daughter, Katie, my son-in-law, Gilbert, and 2 of the adorable grandkids. The other 2 are at Great Wolf Lodge tonight, Sterling and Sage. So thank you again.
Well, kids, I know you two are not in Chandler schools, but I imagine the districts you are in and the schools are you in are fantastic.
They go
Okay?
to school with their mama,
we
so that
appreciate-
helps.
Well, yeah, like I said, fantastic, Mom. We appreciate that.
Thank
All right,
you.
Thank you for being here, and thank you. Amanda Mume will be the new dean at CTA Independence. Amanda has been with Chandler Unified School District for 17 years. She started out as a kindergarten teacher and spent most of her years teaching 5th and 6th grade. Amanda has a positive growth mindset with a focus on ways to create learning environments that are engaging and trusting through establishing student-centered relationships and perseverance. Amanda holds 2 master's degrees from Northern Arizona University, curriculum and instruction, and recently educational leadership. As an instructional leader, Amanda participates in various district committees to support a culture of collaboration with the shared belief that working together will make a difference. Welcome to our family.
Thank you, Madam President, Superintendent Narducci, governing board members, CUSD community. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I am so proud to say I've been a teacher here for 17 years in Chandler, hired right out of college as a kindergarten teacher at Sanborn Elementary. I can't express my gratitude for all the support I have received here over the years, working with amazing principals, district leaders, and staff. I would like to give a shout out to Dr. Walters and Connie Hull from Hancock. They have been amazing. Thank you to everyone for all your support on my leadership journey. I'm so excited to be the dean at CTA Independence and work with Principal Lori Walters. I would like to introduce my family. So I have my husband Ross, and I have my 2 daughters. I have Sadie and Blakely. Hi girls, thanks for coming. We just celebrated my ed leadership graduation up in Flagstaff in December. So we are excited to celebrate this new role in Chandler. So go Chandler, thank you.
That is great. Great to meet your family as well. Hannah Regetz, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
That was such a great get-up. I like that. That was awesome. That's me, right? Hannah's a former CUSD student and athlete. That's amazing. Welcome back home. She attended the Navarrete, Payne, and Perry High School and went to college at ASU. Hannah and her husband love cooking, lifting. Now, I imagine that's more than lifting things. It must be weightlifting. Okay, because I lift all day, but it doesn't do me any good, right? Lifting objects. He's saying you don't lift, right? True. Yeah. Playing pickleball, gardening, going on walks with their 2 dogs, and learning new cooking techniques and Gordon Ramsay's show. That's pretty. I like his shows too. A fun fact about Hannah is 2 years ago she was challenged to race the entire 6th grade class of boys at Haley, and she beat all of them except one. Who was that one?
His name was Corver, but yeah,
Okay.
we'll have to rematch in a couple of years.
Running for the Olympics this year or something? That's awesome. Well, welcome, Hannah. I love the spirit.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't give the whole educational background. I did attend ASU. I got my bachelor's in elementary education, master's from GCU last school year. This is my husband, Jordan. He knows how excited I am to learn from Lisa Graham over the next couple of years. She's such an inspirational, strong leader. And I appreciate the opportunity to positively impact CTA Goodman as much as I possibly can. And I'm excited to officially become a Gator. So thank you for the opportunity.
Fantastic. That's great. Just want to let you know, Hannah, I think the board wants us to implement a dean race at the end of the year. And we do have an elementary track meet, and maybe our deans will race the mascots or something like that. Amy Miller joins us as the dean of Riggs Elementary School. Amy is originally from Dayton, Ohio, but decided to move to sunny Arizona to pursue her education at Arizona State University, where she proudly supports the university's sports teams with a resounding, you did this for me.
I did.
Go Devils. Ouch. She successfully obtained a Bachelor's of Arts in Special Education during her time at ASU. Following her undergraduate studies, Ms. Miller embarked on her teaching career and simultaneously pursued a master's degree in elementary education from NAU. Ms. Miller and her husband Jason have 3 children, all of whom have attended CUSD schools, K-12, and graduated from Perry High School. Her passion for teaching stems from deep-rooted desire to positively impact the lives of her students. With the support of her family, Ms. Miller is pursuing a second master's degree in principal leadership from ASU. One thing that I want to add here that isn't here is, I don't know if you've ever seen a production that Ms. Miller has been involved with at Haley Elementary School when she was there, but they're amazing, and they still continue on to this day. So, so I may need your help with the rally, but welcome to our family again. Welcome to your continued work with our family.
Thank you. Board, Mr. Narducci, thank you for this opportunity and believing in me. Just like Shelley said, we are so excited to serve the Riggs community and get started on the new school year. That is in a month. But more than anything, I'm just so thankful for the 18 years in the classroom, all of which I have served as a special ed teacher, had the opportunity to learn and grow with my students and the parents. I've learned from them more than anything. And so I also want to just thank my family, my husband, Jason, who also went to ASU, my daughters, Kate and Kylie, who currently go to ASU and run there, my son, Thomas, who just recently graduated from Perry, and my mother-in-law, Judy, who's here tonight, and my family, my parents and sisters in Ohio that couldn't be here, but are watching live. So thank you so much to everyone, and I am super excited about this school year.
You pretty much have them all over the room.
We kind of just sprinkled in.
Next
yes.
time we'll reserve a section for you.
Oh, no.
Okay, which is great. Thank you all for being here and welcome.
Forks up. Thank
Yeah,
you.
there you go. So as with any father, right, you go to a different university, and what does your child pick? Mine went to ASU, so which was great. It was fantastic for her. Thank you, ASU. Jane Schul joins us as the Haley Elementary Dean. Jane brings over 20 years of experience in the education field, spanning from pre-kindergarten through college. Most recently, she served as an assistant principal in Maricopa Unified School District. Ms. Schul is currently a doctoral candidate at Grand Canyon University, focusing on her dissertation on how elementary school teachers describe their attitudes, knowledge, and self-efficacy for working with students with ADHD in the general education classroom. That's a long title. Yes. That's great. She holds a Bachelor's of Arts degree in psychology from the University of Arizona, a master's degree in educational leadership from Northern Arizona University, and a master's degree in elementary education from Grand Canyon University. I think the only one you missed out there is Arizona State. Ms. Schul firmly believes that all students can succeed with proper support and is dedicated to fostering an inclusive and supportive learning environment. She lives in Maricopa, Arizona with her husband and her 3 youngest children. In her free time, she enjoys traveling, listening to music, reading, and spending time with her children and grandchildren. Welcome to Chandler.
Thank you. I just want to thank all of you for the opportunity to join this CUSD family. I am very excited to join Haley Elementary. I want to thank my husband, who's here to support me tonight, and my children, who are teens and young adults, so they wanted nothing to do with the board meeting. I'm sorry.
Don't blame them.
And I would really like to commend your HR department from interview all the way through onboarding. They've been so welcoming and helpful, and it really did solidify my decision that Chandler Unified is the school district for me. So thank you.
Thank you. And I wish Dr. Nance was here tonight to hear that, but she's probably listening from wherever she is right now. But what I want to say is that the aspect of that you receive, they do that with over 300 employees that we onboard each year. So I want to thank you for mentioning that, because sometimes all that background information kind of doesn't come out until there's a problem, but usually we onboard really, really well. And so thank you for being here. Appreciate the words. Well, and that's because you are important. All right. Thank you very much. And Ms. Mosden, this is our new class, and we'll have more at the next meeting in June here to introduce you to as well.
Thank you, Mr. Narducci. It's an exciting time for everyone, and we appreciate that you have chosen Chandler. Thank you. Our next portion of our meeting is for citizen comments. Mrs. Ingersoll, could you please read our blurb?
This is the time for the public to comment. Members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.01H, at the conclusion of this of the open call to public, individual members of the public body may respond to criticism made by those who have addressed the public body, may ask staff to review a matter, or may ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. However, members of the public body shall not discuss or take legal action on matters raised during an open call to the public unless the matters are properly noticed for discussion and legal action.
Thank you, Mrs. Ingersoll. We have two speakers tonight, and each will get 3 minutes. Our first one is Mr. Brett Wingate of Chandler, School Options and Depression.
Thank you, board members. I know that you know an awful lot about this because it seems like at every board meeting there is a discussion over cell phones, depression, mental health. I believe that it was like 18 months ago that you signed up to even be in litigation against some of the social media companies in terms of the way that it has negatively impacted your students. There's a lot of research on the mental health aspects and impact of smartphones, in particular, social media apps on young minds as they're forming. And there's been a push. It wasn't, I mean, it's not ubiquitous, but it's starting to become evident to find ways to eliminate the nefarious cell phone, I don't know what else to call it, but the cell phone from the school itself. It has had some pushback, but it seems like there's an awful lot of popularity. And I'm actually came in tonight with the idea of issuing a challenge to you. Whether it's within a school, whether it is selected schools, you have an opportunity to set aside cell phones and make education in your schools be just education, eliminating cyberbullying, eliminating an awful lot of the outside influences. Now, you may not want to do it completely across the board in every school, but if you could set aside a set or a tract of classrooms or a set of schools that would be schools that parents can send their children to, and their phones are locked up and they're not used during the day, I think that you could do a very credible study, and you could probably partner with somebody at ASU to do so, to look at what the mental health outcomes are for your students. This is a very severe problem, and I haven't come to a meeting here yet that you haven't had in one form or another had to address this. And thank you.
Thank you. Our second speaker this evening is Sedina Levine, Discrimination, Retaliation, and Racial Harassment.
I will be here. I will be in the media wherever I can to ensure my family has justice. Assault charges are being brought against my child 6 weeks after being attacked on Bogle School grounds and nearly a month after his promotion. It was your staff, Security T, Eli, and Officer Tyler Service who were not initially present on April 22, 2024 to prevent the attack on my child. You are fully aware that this same Bogle staff, T, Officer Service, Principal Amanda Cook, and Assistant Principal Mallory Anderson are the subject of 2 OCR complaints filed by me in September 2022 and December 2022, and on December 2023, the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights publicly confirmed that CUSD is under investigation with 3 of those complaints from me. Since August 2022, your SRO has been targeting my family after I informed Principal Amanda Cook that he dissuaded me from seeking justice for my child who was bullied and threatened with gang assault. Officer Tyler Service has now filed charges against my child for assault, who responded in defense after being sucker punched and seriously injured on Bogle School grounds. Officer Service is also the same officer that Amanda Cook texted on September 28, 2022, to have me removed from Bogle Junior High School when I sought help regarding disciplinary actions taken by Mallory Anderson. As of today, both Frank Narducci and Ken James state the district can't help with these charges. However, on May 2nd, a decision was made to let my child return to school because Bogle admin admitted on May 1st during our meeting that they did not provide my child with due process before they issued biased, retaliatory, and discriminatory expulsion. I believe there is a pattern of Jim Crow behavior within this district, Chandler PD, and some entities within the state of Arizona. Your actions continue to hurt my family and other families, and I will continue to advocate for equity and justice through every legal means available to me and my family. I've had enough. I'm drained. My children are suffering, and their lives are in danger. You are attacking us and bombarding us with so much unfair justice for me simply speaking
30
up
seconds.
for them. It is wrong. I tried to do this privately because this doesn't affect my family. This also affects your staff. This did not have to come here. I begged you. I emailed you. How is my innocent 13-year-old son that has supported your special needs community for a year volunteering with your school, just received the Respect Award, getting kicked out and being charged by Chandler PD? This is the school to prison pipeline, and I'm done.
Mr. Narducci, would you please present our consent agenda?
I sure can. Madam President, members of the board, I present the consent agenda item that's in front of you as published and printed for your review and approval.
Thank you, Mr. Narducci. Could I please get a motion?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented and published.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Are there any questions? Mr. Roers.
Not just say questions, but comments. First item is we have an IGA, which is an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Chandler. So I just wanted to highlight for the public in the ways that the city and the district cooperate together, because I think it's a very good relationship. So for instance, the district or the city agrees to waive all fees for any of our general fund plans or any of our building permits and for building inspections. The district, in return, waives any school facility use rental fees and related utilities, but also facilities used for district personnel. The city also agrees to maintain all our field and lighting on the school grounds for us. The city agrees actually to make available at no charge to the district those city park facilities, and the district in turn makes available our school facilities for events. So the comment was, I just wanted people to know how close the cooperation is between the city of Chandler and the district. The second item, we had 2 contract overruns, one with special needs transportation and one with our substitute teachers, the special needs transportation, which is buses that we use to send students to different facilities, that overran by about $60,000. And our substitute teachers overran the contract by about $2.5 million. So the questions are for both of those, and I know things happen, but why do we have a contract increase for special needs transportation, and why do we need a contract increase for our substitute teachers contract?
I can answer that, Mr. Worth, Madam President. So the first one is our special needs transportation, and we actually outsource to our special needs facility for those students, but it's our FIT, our families in transition. Those families come into our school district. We don't know how many will be in our district at the beginning of the year. make an estimate, but as those are added throughout the year, you have to provide services for those, so that's just an increase to that purchase order. Again, they're just purchase orders where we're increasing the amount, and we bring that back to you because of the threshold. On the substitute side of that, we substitute through ESI related to a number of things. We have an increase in the number of substitute teachers, as you know, from we changed our leave policy, so instead of just vacation, you can access, we have PTO time, and so now we have the ability to do that. Also, as we now have more professional development for our staff as we continue forward, we utilize those days. But has been an increase over the years in the cost of our substitute teachers and the benefits related to that, and so we try to project what that is, but then we have an overall cost overall. So there are a number of factors that come into that. And again, we do our best in the very beginning, but a lot of times we issue a purchase order for an amount and don't know what that final amount is until the very end of the fiscal year.
Okay, so I understand it's the best effort at the beginning of the year, and you have no idea how it's going to turn out. So with the special needs, we had more special needs transportation issues than we anticipated because we're servicing more special needs kids, which I appreciate the district doing. And with the substitute teachers, we had more teachers out doing various things, PTO, but also their professional development, which is their PD stuff.
And Mr. Roars, in our families in transition, it's important for people to know, when a family enters that program, they may not live in Chandler, and so we have to provide transportation from their point of origin where they are residing to the school that they have attended. And so that puts an increase as well, and we've had additional families in transition this year as well. So that also adds a cost in the transportation area when you're already, short routing, you have to service the students. It's something we have to do and we want to do because we want to keep our kids stable in our schools. But that's also added to that cost as well.
Okay, so these were unanticipated expenses, yes. I would think. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Narducci, Mrs. Berry, and Mr. Roars. So we'll go ahead and vote. All those in favor of the consent agenda as presented, please say aye.
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 Motion carries. We'll now move on to our action items. Our first is, who's going to present our board achievement goals, is Dr. Jennifer Fletcher.
Good evening. Thank you, President Mosden, members of the board. If it's okay with you, I'm going to read our agenda item and then do a brief presentation, and then you can have discussion and voting. So I, Dr. Fletcher, Executive Director of Accountability Assessment and Research, presented the 2023-2024 Board Achievement Goals for Journey 2025. It's a lot of years in there. For review and discussion during the board retreat. At that time, not all data was finalized and predicted scores were utilized based on previous trend data. Today, all data is final. Request approval of the 2023-2024 Journey 2025 Board Achievement Goals with rounding 89.58% to 90%, which results in a one-time payment of $600 for full-time staff and $300 to part-time staff for their performance pay. All right. So I know we have many new community members in the audience today, but this is our Journey 2025 Board Achievement Goals. We have an abundance of goals, so bear with me as I work through them. Our first board goal is equity. So as you can see, there are 7 components there that make up our equity goal. We have climate survey as A, school discipline policy events for B, enrollment in advanced programs, C, statewide assessment test results for D, ACT results for E, and then graduation rates for F. Now, for those of you who are in the audience, you don't get to see my next slides yet, but for those of you on the dais, right, as a reminder, we have the next 2 slides that are your reference slides. Right, we use a rubric 4-3-2-1, and a rubric score greater than 3 has really no meaning to anyone. Okay, so when you get home, if you're interested, you can look these up. Here are what the actual numbers mean, what our target goals are, right, to achieve what a 4, a 3, a 2, a 1 is. And then, oh, there's a missing slide, but then there is also a slide, hopefully you have it, apologies, that shows you which subgroups we disaggregate the data on. All right, so overall we are a 4
on every indicator with the exception of E, which is at least 40% of our students are college ready on 3 of the 4 ACT exams, which we were a 3. What I did not get to show you at the board retreat, because data was not finalized, was this slide, and this gets posted publicly on our website. This is the data disaggregated by subgroup. All right, so this is the key elements that teaching and learning that our principals, our site leaders dive into to see how the subgroups are performing and where we need to make improvements for future years. So just for example, if you look at C, students will have an enrollment rate in gifted and talented, AP, advanced placement or IB, international baccalaureate, and honors classes of at least 25.5%. All right, so you can see that our economically disadvantaged students were a 2 on the rubric, and our English language learners and our exceptional student services or special ed students were a 1, right? So that is an area that the district can work to improve, okay? So that's the underlying data that gives you board goal 1. Board goal 2 is our grade level proficiency, looking at our statewide assessments, AASA and ACT. We look to exceed state proficiency percentages at all grade levels in both ELA and math. We were a 4. And then we also look internally at district data to see if our students are showing growth between the beginning of the year and the end of the year, again in both subjects on all grade levels, because if you recall, our statewide assessment data is prior year, right? So that's last year's data, last school year, 22-23, and then B is current year, so we can make sure we're staying on track, okay? And we were a 4 on both of those. Specifically, board goal 3 then hones in on grade 3 ELA. We want to make sure our students can read and get promoted and be successful, right? Moving up into the higher grades of elementary. The percent of 3rd grade students performing at grade level, so letter A, was a 60% on last year's statewide assessment data, so we were a 3. And then again, looking at current year data, growth in Renaissance, we were also a 3. So that's our final data for 3, and I know at prelim, we didn't have all of our final information. All right, this is the really exciting one. I got a lot of numbers that are about to come at you. All right, scholarship dollars. So this is career and college readiness indicators. This spans 3 slides, possibly 4, I can't remember. In excess of $145 million is a 4. This year, we were almost $300,000 short of $200 million in our students earning scholarship dollars. That's the highest we've ever been. Service learning hours, you see that's in purple, because that is one, as you recall, post-COVID, we were trying to get our students back into the classroom, into volunteering in the community. Last year, we were a 1. We moved up to 3.29 average hours per student, shifting us to a 3. So we're seeing our students being able to get back out into the community and volunteer. National Merit and Flynn Scholars, we had 69, again, the highest ever. National Merit Scholars, 3 Flynn Scholars in the district, also getting us at a 4. Advanced placement, we had 7,907 tests, moving us from a 3 last year to a 4 this year. And then roughly 85% of our students are earning a 3, 4, or 5 on those advanced placement tests, also earning us a 4, okay? I know this one we went through and was really exciting. This is our ACT testing, how we compare to all districts in the nation who test at least 85% of their student population. CUSD ranked number 1 in the nation compared to all of those districts. Okay, so putting us at a 4 in every single subject. Still on our board goal 4, we have the International Baccalaureate. We did drop to a 1 this year. We had only 138 IB exams at a 3.87 result. We've done an analysis. It's not the quality of the program. Now we need to look at enrollment, but we also know that our students have an abundance of other options now, right? Dual credit, advanced placement, So this is one of the priority targets for next school year. Dual credit hours, we'd like to exceed 22,000. We were at 22,500. Again, one of the highest numbers of dual credit hours for the district, which could partly explain the international baccalaureate decline. And then our CTE, career and technical education, we look at post-high school placements, and we were at almost an 86% placement rate, meaning that the courses they took in high school, they carried on and had a career and a job post-high school. All right, board goal 5 is our student dropout rate. We compare our dropout rate to the state. We expect to be at least 2.5 percentage points better than the state. So the state had a 5% dropout rate this year, and CUSD was at 2.5%. So we earn a 4. Chronic absences is our one that, if you recall, we had no trend data on. It's a national crisis, right? We were over 20% last year in chronic absenteeism, so we just put together a rubric without any baseline information. We did make almost a 3%, I'll say, decline, right? So we're only at a 17.5% chronic absenteeism rate, which puts us at a 2, but obviously still room to grow when we used to be below 8%, okay? Graduation rate, board goal 6. Again, we compare to the state average. We expect to be 14 and hope to be 14 percentage points better than the state. We had a 91.25% graduation rate on last year's data, right? We used cohort 2023, and the state was unfortunately 13.5 points, so at 77.75. So that left us at a 3. Again, still room to grow. And then if you recall, we look at our 9th grade students earning their 5.5 credits, because the more students who earn those credits are more likely to be able to successfully finish high school. And we saw an almost 3% increase compared to last year, but we are still at 2. So again, still room to grow. Board goal 7 is our market share. So we look at how many students we are losing to the charter schools. We hope to not exceed a 2.5%. We were at 1.93%, making us a 4. Employer of choice, we use our retention rate. We look to be at least 90%. We were 91.5% of our staff retained. District of choice, we use our West Group survey community results. This year we did see a decline from a 4 to a 3, but if you recall, it was a unique spring for CUSD with a lot of the community events that were occurring. Board goal 10 is percentage of dollars spent in the classroom. We look to be in the top 10% of all districts. This is data we get from the Auditor General, and CUSD ranked 6th in where we are spending our funds, meaning we are putting more of our funds into the classroom. 6th in the state. Outside contributions is board goal 11, so we look to meet or exceed 2.5% of our annual maintenance and operations budget. That's in purple because, as you know, that budget changes annually. So we were looking for roughly 9.3 million, and this year we received 10.3 million in outside contributions, making us a 4. Board goal 12, we look at communication with our community and how they rate us as an A or a B, again on our survey with respect to communication. And this year we saw a 1% increase in our communication with the community. So people felt we were more successful in doing better in our communication. So this is your total for each of the indicators. It results in an 89.58% with the request that you round to 90% so that our full-time staff receive that one-time pay of $600 and part-time staff $300.
Question for you. So you said we get more money in the classroom than everybody else except for 5 other school districts. And I'm trying to figure out how many other school districts there are in the state. There's like 400 or something?
Is it 4? There's about 225 public school districts, not charters. Charters do not have to present a classroom dollar report. Only school districts do, district public schools. And so there's about approximately 225.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? First off, Dr. Fletcher, thank you very much for presenting all this to us. I know there's a lot of work that goes into recording these goals and figuring out all the data and doing everything. So thank you very much for you doing this and for the team that works with you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for her on the presentation? Could I please get a motion to approve the 2023-2024 Journey 2025 Board Achievement Goals?
Madam President, I move to recommend approval of the 2023-2024 Journey 2025 Board Achievement Goals.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? No. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carries. Our next is Mrs. Berry. She's going to, present the resolution to sign vouchers between board meetings.
Madam President, members of the board, the school district is allowed to stamp vouchers with board member signatures between board meetings as long as the voucher is ratified by the board at its next generally scheduled meeting. The attached resolution covers July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
Thank you, Mrs. Berry. Could I get a motion to approve this?
I move we approve the resolution to sign vouchers in between meetings.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any questions or discussion? None. All those in favor then of approving the resolution for voucher ratification, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? No? Okay. I didn't hear everyone. I'm sorry. The motion carries. Next, we have Central Transportation roadway improvements. Mrs. Berry.
Madam President, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Dunn.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. As you're aware, in 2019, we built our Central Transportation facility. As part of that improvement, we are required to do half-street improvements surrounding our property. At the time, the north portion of the roadway was not necessary for traffic flow. A lot of that land was undeveloped, so we worked with the City of Chandler to defer that road work. In August of 2020, the board signed an IGA with the City of Chandler, agreeing to allow the City of Chandler to make the improvements, and we would reimburse them. Road work is scheduled to start, so requesting approval to reimburse the City of Chandler for the road work for $1,763,673.42.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn.
You're welcome.
Could I get a motion for this item?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the off-site improvements for the Central Transportation Facility in the amount of $1,763,673.42.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any questions for Mr. Dunn? Yes, Mr. Roars.
So where will these funds be coming from?
Adjacent ways.
Adjacent ways. Thank you.
Is there any discussion on this item? I'm just saying it sounds like it's an obligation that we made 4 years ago or 3 years ago, whatever the time frame is, and I'm actually glad that they're getting this finally done, and this will kind of be done for us too. So
It's actually going to benefit our bus drivers as well. We can now go north out of our facility up to Ocotillo and use the light to go east and west on Ocotillo. So it's going to be a real benefit for us.
it sounds like it might end up improving traffic flow just in that whole area then too.
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you. All those in favor of approving our Central Transportation roadway improvements, please say aye.
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 Abstain? Approve? Nays? Okay. Motion carries. Next, we have the consideration and possible adoption of a resolution ordering and authorizing all matters necessary for a bond election to be held on November 5th, 2024. And I believe Mrs. Berry is going to be presenting that.
Madam President, members of the board, consideration and possible adoption of a resolution ordering and authorizing all matters necessary for a bond election to be held on November 5th, 2024. If one of the resolutions that you pick is so adopted, the deadline for submitting arguments with respect to it is August 9th, 2024 at 5 p.m. So attached you have a number of things. You have the presentation that we have went over with the governing board. You have an Excel spreadsheet that has 4 options on it that we've discussed with you at the previous meeting. You also have the bond committee's recommendation for $487,450,000. And then you have 4 resolutions for whichever one you decide. The only difference in each resolution is the dollar amount for options 1 to the bond committee's resolutions, which is option 2 in 2B, and then the third, there's option 3. So ultimately, we are asking for you to decide on one of the options, and then that would be the dollar amount in the resolution if you do call for a bond election. So tonight, it's up to you to determine if you would like a bond election and the dollar amount.
Thank you, Mrs. Berry.
Can I move?
Yes, Mr. Worth.
A motion to approve the adoption of the resolution for 2B in the amount of $487,450,000, ordering and authorizing all necessary matters for a bond election to be held on November 5th, 2024.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Mr. Worth, I'm going to start the discussion because I'd like to ask a question of you. Why did you feel like the $487 million should be the one that we should go for?
I just was afraid that we might leave a misconception on the community, would misunderstand what was going on. So I believe the bond committee just simply picked a rate that was reasonable, an amount that's reasonable, I should say.
Okay. Are there any, I know we've had a lot of presentations on this over the last 6 months. Do any other board members have questions? Mr. Roars, or comments, discussion?
Okay. So as this has developed, I've kind of had a growing sense of unease with this. I went back and looked at our annual comprehensive financial report and picked out these items that I want to make sure the public's aware of. This is a $487 million offering. This more than doubles our current debt, which is about $400 million. It takes it up to close to $900 million. So we'll have double the amount of debt that we had before. The district has declining enrollment. We're not going to be building any more schools, and we repair some. But many of our schools are currently well below capacity, and there's no significant demographic change that's anticipated. We're fighting to keep the students that we have, so we're not growing anymore. Our rates that we've paid for our bonds have been about 3 to 5% over the last 14 years. But the new bond's going to cost us well over 5% in the interest rate, because interest rates are much higher in the market right now, and that's what our bond advisors have told us. So there'll be a significant increase in the rate that we're going to be paying on this debt. In addition, that property tax collections have increased every year since 2016. There's a lot of information here on tax rates. That's only half the story. What taxpayers really care about is how much money is coming out of their pocket, and that increases every year. So based on these observations, doubling the rate of interest that we'll pay, doubling the amount that we owe, I'm not so sure this is the best idea. And when the public learns about these two things, that we're not growing, we're going to be doubling the amount of debt, and we're going to be paying more for it, I don't think it's going to be very supportive. What I'd like to do is make a motion to table this vote, go back and make some substantial cuts to this back to what we think is essential, such as replacing roofs. We have to replace the roof at Chandler High School. We have to replace the roof on this building, HVAC units. But I do not believe that it would be responsible for us to vote to raise another $500 million, over the next few years, when we've never, ever, ever borrowed anything close to that. So that's my motion.
Is there a second to Mr. Rohr's motion? Is there any more discussion on
Right.
this?
Not on this motion, but another previous?
On the original motion, yes.
Okay. First of all, it's hard for the community to understand 6 million square feet under roof and how many houses and so forth within the school district that need to be maintained. For example, charter schools get $1,000 more per student than we do. That's $40 million per year. We don't have any choice. They have the extra money. We don't have any choice but to come to the community and hope you would support it, because the charters get the money that we don't. And that's part of the reason we need this bond money. The other thing is, one of the schools that we're replacing here was built in the late 50s. Can you imagine how many years those restrooms were used? That campus needs to be replaced, and that was the goal we have. So again, it's really hard to explain to the community to understand what 6 million square feet is. It's almost 3,000 homes. It's phenomenally large, and it's hard for people to understand. But it's incredibly important to keep this district assets in good shape so they don't deteriorate, and frankly, protects the safety of our kids. So I would certainly recommend we do the $487 million.
I have.
Yes, Mr.
I don't think it's really that hard to understand. It's stuff gets old, and you have to keep it up and fix it. Roofs get old, air conditioners get old, parking lots get old, football fields get old. This is all stuff that we have to pay to maintain, and all of these are assets that belong to the people of the Chandler School District. We need to take care of them.
Mrs. Serrano.
Yeah, I just want to make sure. I think there was some misunderstanding with the remarks that we heard earlier. So we are not currently in the business of building any new schools unnecessarily. I think that is not too difficult to understand. I agree with you, Board Member Olive. And so I just wanted to clarify that in case that was misunderstood. We had a very in-depth presentation on what the bond will look like and what we have earmarked to cover within this budget. So just to review, we're talking about things like transportation, instructional equipment that is needed, non-instructional equipment and furniture, new roofs. These are things that are naturally needed for maintenance and to prevent bigger ticketed items in the future. So that's definitely diligence to us, making sure that we're managing fiscally and responsibly throughout the district. It is upon us. We want to modernize. We want to keep the students that we have. We want to appeal to the community to choose Chandler schools. And with that comes the responsibility of us making sure that we are marketing and meeting the needs of today, which is very different from the type of schools that many of us in this room and I grew up in. So we are really looking to be fiscally responsible here, maximizing our ability to be innovative and meet the needs of our students today. And I want to be clear that we don't have line items to build brand new schools. So making sure that we are all properly informed on that. And we were presented with 4 different scenarios. So there was due diligence with what moving things around and rebudgeting on different line items look like. So we have actually already done all of that, or I should say not we. That homework was done to present to the board, and that's what we have informed ourselves with. We were presented to, and this decision definitely does is not made lightly. We are informed, we're educated on what's being presented and what our school district needs are.
Mrs. Serrano, I'll add to that too, that we included in this bond are vehicles for pupil transportation, buses. Buses nowadays cost $250,000. And we don't want our kids being on buses in 110 or 115 degrees that break down and during the times that they have left from school. Buses don't last forever. We drive them every single day for numerous miles, and when you have vehicles like that, eventually they get old and they have a lot of kids on them every day and they need to be replaced. We have purchased a lot of computers for students and technology for this district. And this bond will also allow us to continue to provide those computers to students and refresh them when they get old. I know probably everyone here has had an old computer that after a period of time, it takes forever to boot up. And when you're taking 15 or 20 minutes to boot up a computer, think about all the class instruction time you're going to be losing when a student has that same situation. This is why we need to refresh our technology every 5 years or so for all of our students' computers and our teachers' computers. It provides efficiency for our teachers and in our classrooms. There are many buildings that need renovations within our district. The state, through the state facilities or the school facilities board, had been having some money in order to be able to do that, to assist school districts across the state to provide funding to replace roofs, air conditioners, and other things that were necessary to keep students safe and cool and and keeping them in safe buildings. With the budget deficit that is occurring in the state of Arizona, the school facilities board is not really going to be getting any money that they can distribute to help school districts with these repairs. And so so we have to rely on a bond to help us replace those things and keep our students safe. So I really believe that this is something that I support. As we were looking through the tax rates, one of the things that was most important to me is that the tax rate was not going to be going up for homes. Our tax rate for this particular $487+ million bond, it keeps the tax rate level for a number of years, and it doesn't increase those taxes. The school district does not sell all the bonds at once and then put them in the bank. The school district ends up selling a series of bonds so that we can carefully manage the tax rate and the amount, and we only sell the number of bonds that we need for that amount of money that we need to do those specific repairs and those utilized for those specific expenses right before we really are going to make those expenses. So I believe that the district really does work very, very hard to make sure that the taxpayers are getting the best benefit for the taxes that they're paying. And so that's why I'm going to support this.
Okay, just to kind of clarify, put this into context, I understand the buses. I understand the roofs, Chandler High School roof, and the HVAC repairs. We need to do those, keep the classrooms cooled. But in this proposal, buses was about $12 million. The Chandler High roof was $11.5 million. The HVAC was about $30 million. It's only about $50 million. Now, I understand your point about maintaining, the essentials. But of this $50 million, you're asking for $487 million and having trouble reconciling the essential things we need to do, roads and HVACs and new buses, with the other $400 million on top of that. And as far as your comment about the bonds, yeah, we approve bonds and you sell them in series as you need the money. And you come to us and say, we want to issue more bonds. But I don't know if there's ever been a bond approval where we haven't sold all the bonds by the end of the term. In fact, we just finished off the 2019 bond, which had, I don't know, 29 million or whatever, sold those bonds in the market and used that for other unanticipated projects. As far as the tax rates, taxpayers don't care about tax rates. They care about what's coming out of their pocket. So to tell you the truth, I think this discussion about tax rates is irrelevant. It's how much people are paying. And they've paid more every year for almost 10 years. So, I understand what you said, but I think we need to put that into context. Thank you.
And to counter that, when we look at when the scenarios were as to when we would be selling these bonds, we don't, at those immediate needs of 50 million, in 2025, we would sell $100 million in bonds. 2 years later, we would be selling another $100 million in bonds, which is coming out to about $50 million, the same number that you talked about a little while ago, which is that immediate need. This is looking for something that is long-term, not something that we are going to go out every single year or every 2 years in order to cover just those immediate needs. This is long-term planning and is the best way to end up helping the district have that stability so that they can plan and have emergency funds for when a roof does fail and it needs to be done immediately. Those funds will be available.
If I could, a couple of things that are in this package. Energy management and lighting upgrades, which are energy saving things, that's $30 million. That's investments in technologies that are going to save energy. So we're going to get a payback of that in 8 or 10 years. Safety, so we have fire panels, fire protection systems, security cameras and safety measures. The safety measures are pretty necessary. Security cameras are nice to have in case you want to have record of something bad happen or prevent bad things from happening. Fire protection upgrades and fire panels are necessary because if we don't change those out, the fire marshal with the city of Chandler is going to come to this door and tell everybody to get out of the building. That is money that has to be spent. It's $9 million, $9.5 million. Stuff that has to be done.
Yeah, I understand that. And everything you just mentioned doesn't even add up to $100 million. So my point is, I don't believe you need $487 million. I just don't.
Kurt, you've been given a list of all the expenses in the bond, all of it, and you significantly are excluding it. You're not bothering to tell the truth. You don't care about the school district when you make those kind of moves.
Lying. What I asked for is to buy the essential things that you need, okay? And you mentioned a whole bunch of them. And I agree that we got to go out with some bond money because there's stuff we absolutely have to do. But I don't think there's $500 million of stuff we need to do.
On page 20 of our presentation that we have in our packet, pupil transportation, $12 million, that's buses. This all adds up on the bottom, I promise. Instructional, which is furniture, equipment, technology, $129 million. Instructional land, construction, improvements and renovations, $330. Non-instructional furniture, equipment, technology, stuff like we're using here, $5 million. That's for all over the district. Non-instructional land, new construction and improvements, $9.9 million, and that adds up to $487.
And there's $300 million for construction. I understood Member Schreiner's comment that we're not building new schools, but we are. We're scraping them. We're building new schools.
Renovations means you take a cruddy old building and you fix it up. That's a significant amount of it.
But say at Galveston, we didn't do that. We built a brand new building, and we're going to level the old building, and that is the plan for some other buildings as well. So to say that we're not building new schools, we are building new schools, replacing the ones that are there.
Board Member Roars, I think I do want to go back to the day we had a presentation at our last school board meeting that was open to the public, of course, as all our meetings are, educating on this. However, prior to that, I want to bring to your attention the planning meeting we had that was presented by Mrs. Berry that was very detailed because we were able to reserve time specific to this. And so we've somewhat had a roadmap leading to today's vote and plenty of time and space to issue any grievances or questions. But as far as it not adding up, I think we all have seen the line by line items, as Board Member Olive mentioned, that absolutely add up. So I don't want to deter the conversation over math that doesn't exist because we've seen the reports, and maybe it's time for us to present the support and vote for investing in our CUSD community and schools, or not.
Anything else? All right. All those, we'll go ahead and take a roll call vote on this. For those in favor, or Mr. Worth?
Yes.
Ms. Serrano?
Yes.
Mr. Olive?
Yes.
Mr. Roars?
No.
And I will vote yes. The motion carries 4-1. We will now move on to our proposed increase in breakfast and lunch prices for next year. Mrs. Berry.
Yes. Madam President, members of the board, each year, the Food Service Department must evaluate its annual budget to assess the need to increase meal prices. School food authorities depend on two sources of revenue to cover costs associated with the National School Breakfast and Lunch Programs, funds collected from paid students' meals, and federal reimbursement. The costs associated with the programs have increased significantly due to inflation in both food and labor costs. The Food and Nutrition Department is requesting approval for the following price increases for meals for 2024-25 school year as listed below. Increased prices 10 cents for all meals for breakfast and lunch. So breakfast prices district-wide will go from $2.25 to $2.35. Increase the elementary lunch price from $3.25 to $3.35. Junior high lunch prices from $3.50 to $3.60. High school lunch prices from $3.75 to $3.85. And you can see the chart below. The a la carte pricing is run through a calculator yearly to determine if there is any price increase needed. We have not updated an a la carte pricing since March of 2023. The a la carte pricing increases are approximately 25 cents per item with a few exceptions based on the previous pricing below, too low. The Food and Nutrition Department is requesting approval for the following price increases to a la carte for the 24-25 school year as listed. Again, it's really important for us to review this. As you remember, during COVID, there was universal lunch where every student received lunch for free. And during that time, we had really high participation because we only have approximately 24% of students are on free and reduced lunch, and it actually increased. Not our paid students were accessing lunch and our free and reduced. With that, also came along, as you know, with COVID, the increase in supply costs, and they've continued to be went up. If you look at the consumer price index, even from last year, it was over 8%. We're going into this year at 4%. And you can see that, I'm sure, with your grocery bills. So supply costs have gone up. Labor costs, as you know, with the propositions that were passed in our state, we keep increasing and are required to increase by inflation every year with our for our support staff salary schedules. So as you know, our support staff salary schedules have been increasing, and so has our supply costs. So we also have to run a couple other things. We have to do what's called a paid lunch equity, and Mrs. Marsden asked about that last year when we were reviewing this. It's called the PLE, so paid lunch equity, and we have to run it through a calculator because we have to make sure that we are not supplementing using our free and reduced lunch amount that we're receiving for students for free and reduced lunch to supplement our paid students. So we do receive approximately, I think it is, and I'll give you an example of this, for a free lunch, a student who is on free lunch from the federal government receives $4.33. So we have to run it through a calculator to make sure it's equitable. And then we have to adjust. And so we run it through and we need to adjust slightly to make that equitable. So that's part of our increase too. We have to do a formula to make sure that we're legal on that side. So we're asking you tonight for the price increases that you see on the items listed below. This is for next fiscal year for 24-25. One thing that's important is that we need to operate within the black and not within the red. So that is important for us to make sure. Again, we value our staff, so we have given them the raise just like we gave our certified and administrative groups. That includes our classified side, and then we know that, especially with the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, that supplies will go up. So we want to make sure we adjust for that so that we have a healthy budget.
Thank you, Mrs. Berry. Could I please get a motion for this item?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the, I'm sorry, I've lost my place. Approve the increase, proposed increase in breakfast and lunch prices for the 24-25 school year.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any questions or discussion from the
I have
board? Yes,
no question.
Mr. Worth.
As a CPI, I should be embarrassed. I don't understand the notes under the 24-25. The CPI 4.9 credit card fee increase from 3. Help me understand what this is.
Yes, so the CPI stands for the Consumer Price Index. And so last year, the Consumer Price Index from the previous year, so it compares May to May, went up 8%. So supply costs went up by at least 8.8%. This year, from last May to this May, it went up 4.9%. So that's just showing you the increase in the Consumer Price Index. So that helps us when we're trying to target and show what expenses are, because we have to look at historical costs and anticipated costs to start projecting that. So that's just the Consumer Price Index.
But it says from 3.25 to 3.5.
And then let me talk to you about the credit card fee. So in the past, so we used to be where students would come in and pay a lot of cash. Almost everybody is now using credit cards, debit cards, things like that. Banks and credit cards charge fees. And so when we sign that agreement, we have to pay that fee. And the district has to pay it. And so when all of us sign that agreement, we all have to pay that credit card fee. That's about $250,000, I think, Stephanie, is that correct? About $250,000 for us every year. With that, because we have pretty much became completely credit card, debit card related, in a sense, the credit card fees are 3.25 to 3.5% every time a student uses one of those. So with that, we want to make sure we have to add that into the overall price. In a sense, becomes how much we charge per kid, because we don't give them, we don't charge them. That's not the way the system works, where you charge $3.50 or $3.60 in the future, and then they get an additional 3.25%. We have to take that out of that $3.60. So we just wanted to make sure you know that part of that is because we have to cover those fees, and that is something that has increased over the years that we don't talk about. We wanted to make sure you are aware of.
So, Len, those fees are included in the 10
They are.
cents then?
They are, yes.
Are there any other questions or comments? All right. All those in favor of approving the increases in the school lunches, please say aye.
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 The motion carries. Our last item on our action item agenda is the purchase of Mac computers for CTE classrooms. And I believe that Dr. Gilbert will be presenting.
Madam President, members of the board, we recommend approval to purchase Mac computers for the following CTE programs in schools: Basha High School Film and TV, 31 computers; Hamilton High School Film and TV, 31 computers; Perry High School Film and TV, 31 computers as well. CTE Mac labs are evaluated on a regular basis and updated accordingly to ensure that the labs function at its highest level, which includes the ability to run the most current operating systems and related software programs per industry standards. The Mac computers will be used to operate studio equipment, enable students to create a digital portfolio, allow students to produce and edit media. Any existing Mac computers that are in good working condition will be repurposed in applicable CTE programs. Mac computers that are no longer functioning properly will be surplused. we request approval to purchase computers from Apple Computer Inc. In the amount of $450,430.86, utilizing state contract 21K-Apple-0305, which complies with all school district procurement rules. Apple, and you have the quote attached for your review.
Thank you, Dr. Gilbert. Could I please get a motion for this item?
Ms. Marsden, I'd like to make a motion to approve the request to purchase Apple computers in the amount of $450,430.86.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Dr. Gilbert? Yes.
What's the funding source for this expense?
I believe this is through our
2019 bond?
It's
no,
CTED.
No, it's CTED. It's through our CTED funds. It's not through bond. It's through
Mr.
CTED,
Roars?
CTE classes.
Mr. Roars, on our agenda item, on the computer, there says budget source, and on the computer, not on
At the
your-
top of the sheet.
Okay, CTED funds, so we have essentially a budget for CTED.
Well, it's the budget that we get for CTE classes, for our CTE classes. So our CTE classes generate funds as we work through, because we're a satellite of EVIT. So there are all the funds that we use to purchase these comes from the funding that is generated from our CTED courses.
Is this state funding in some way?
Yes.
Okay, so it comes from the state.
Yeah, but it's specifically for CTED that has to be used.
Yeah, the state CTE program. Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? All right, all those in favor of purchasing the computers for the Apple computers, please say aye.
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 All right, the motion carries. Next, we will go on to our informational items. And our first is the bioscience textbook adoption, and Dr. Gilbert will be presenting that. Dr.
Madam
Gilbert.
President and members of the board, for your information, the Bio-Rad Bioscience curriculum offers comprehensive curriculum alignment to the Arizona State CTE Bioscience Standards, Select Common Core Science Standards, Arizona CTE Professional Skills Standards, as well as HOSA integration. The Bio-Rad Bioscience curriculum will be used specifically for the Career and Technical Education Bioscience program. In accordance with ARS 15721, the curriculum will be placed on display for 60-day public review period for comments at the Melinda Romero Instructional Resource Center starting June 13th, 2024. After the 60-day review period for public comment, the curriculum will be presented for approval.
Are there any questions? All right. Next, we have transition ASBA policy KDDA to trust model policy. Dr. Gilbert.
Madam President, members of the board. As you remember, we have been working on the transition from ASBA to the trust policy. This policy is being brought to you right now as information item. As we've looked at some of the policies that we were transitioning over, this was one that we didn't transition over. And after further review of that, it was determined that it would be necessary to transition existing ASBA policy KDDA to trust model policy with a modification adding verbiage superintendent designee. This addition to the trust model policy is being presented as information and will be returned for consent at the June 26, 2024 board meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Gilbert. Are there any questions to this policy? Mr. Roars.
So as we do this transition, we try to make sure that all policies are grounded in statute, Arizona statute. Is there any Arizona statute that refers to this?
I don't know of a specific Arizona statute that refers to this, similar to some of the other policies that we were approved by the board that were also not necessarily having a statute, but also still serve the purpose of practice and processes as we manage the things that we do within our district. Making sure that there's a clear understanding as to who should be speaking for the district, is one of the reasons why, and making sure everybody understands who's leading and communicating when it comes to public comments as it's referring to the district. The other thing I would also add that this policy that I'm bringing to you today is not a new policy to CSD. This policy has been in existence since December 27th of 2011. We just did not bring it over when we actually transitioned to the trust policy. But in talking with our communications department, we believe that it was still needed, and so we're bringing it back to the board.
Just for the education of the audience out there, this is referring to communications with the media, that all requests need to go through the communications director of the district. My question that I'd asked previously, I hadn't got an answer yet, does this apply to school board members who are not employees of the district?
I would happy to answer that, and actually I sent you the response to your question in your email.
I think I missed it. Go ahead.
No problem. So in that, and I'll actually, maybe it'll help, I'll just read what I wrote. So I think when I responded to you, the key to both of your questions, one was, is it addressing the freedom of speech, as well as does it pertain to board members? So my response to you was, the key to both of your questions is, who are you representing when speaking, as an individual, a board member, or as the board? I've tried to clarify below, after speaking to legal, which I did, which was one of your requests, to talk to our legal counsel, which I did, in regards to this policy. And the first off is, this does not affect freedom of speech of anyone. This policy applies to board members from the perspective that unless you, as a board member, have been given authority to speak for the board, from the board, you cannot speak for the district or the board. That's one. If you do not have freedom, or you have freedom to speak as an individual person, but this would not be for yourself, this would only be for yourself, not the district. You have the opportunity to have freedom of speech as a board member, but that does not give you the power to speak for the board or the district. So that's why the clarification has to do with, who are you speaking for? So if somebody wanted to have freedom of speech and say, I'm going to talk to the press, you have the opportunity to do that. The key to this is, who are you speaking and representing? So if you speak and say, our board says, you're speaking on behalf of the board, and unless you have the authority to speak for the board as a whole, you can only speak as a member, and you have the right to speak as a member. It's just clarifying that you're speaking as a member and not as the district leadership, or not as the complete board.
Okay, so as long as we preface comments with, I am speaking on behalf of myself and not representing the opinions of the board, we should be fine.
You should be fine.
There is a lot of judicial decisions regarding this, and I think I gave you Pickering from 1968, which kind of very good definition of this, and then Garcetti from 2000, I think 15, 16, where this comes up again and again and again. So in your official capacity as a staff member or as a board member, you can only speak to what the board has already decided, or what official policy is for the district itself. But having your own personal opinions on such issues, where you're speaking to the media, the district has absolutely no control whatsoever.
If you're speaking for yourself, the key is, again, who are you representing, and what are you representing when you speak?
And Dr. Gilbert, I think you stated it really well and very clear, that if you don't have the board's authority to speak on behalf of the board, you can't, if it's not representing the district, then you're only spouting your opinion. And if that wants to be covered as an opinion piece, then that is everybody's individual right, and freedom of speech is upheld. It's just, we also have board policy under board governance that also states that same piece. We also have board norms that also we go over every year that states exactly what you just alluded to. And so that's very well familiar with this group. As a matter of fact, this group actually chose to adhere to all of our board norms, which that's in our board norms as well. So
and the reason I brought up this discussion was, what I'd ask is to make that clear in the policy, what those two distinctions are, because I think it's very important. Because if somebody runs into an issue where they didn't quite understand that they shouldn't have been speaking on this behalf, on the behalf of the board or the district, I think people need to understand that. Okay, so if we could make that adjustment so you could explain what you just explained in the policy, I think it'd be very helpful.
I think it's definitely something we can look at, but I would tell you that would be something that would need to go to the board and look at what might need to be added. What I would say is, in my opinion, the way this reads really says if you don't have the authority to speak on something, you shouldn't be. And it really comes down to this policy. What's important is to remember our policy is governing this district. So when you read the policy as it's stated, you have to understand that you're speaking, this is for our district. So when it talks about if you're speaking and if you're giving information, you have to have the right to give that information if you are a district representative. I can't go around speaking on
So what I was
the
asking is
district.
just define those authorities. So it's
Well,
clear.
I will talk with the team, and also it's going to be the board that would have to agree to that, and not just one piece as to what that would look like, but
Yeah,
we will
well,
look
I
at
think
it.
you're bringing this back at a future meeting, right?
It's coming back at the next meeting.
All right, thank you.
Are there any other questions, comments? All right. We now have our student activity, auxiliary operations, and tax credit reports. Mrs. Berry?
Madam President, members of the board, the student activities, auxiliary operations, and tax credit reports for the months ending July 2023 through May of 2024 are provided for your review.
Are there any questions or comments on those reports? All right. Next, we have our board agenda roadmap. We have one more meeting this month, and that will be on June 26th. We will be talking about the proposed 24-25 budget. Mrs. Berry, it sounds like there's a lot of work to do between now and then.
Especially when we don't have a budget yet, but we do have old forms and they're working through those.
Thank you. And I guess we will then be looking sometime in July to get our new listing of when the board meetings will be in our new agenda roadmap. All right. Board member current events. Mr. Worth, why don't we start with you tonight?
No comment.
Okay. Mr. Roars.
All right, thank you. Well, we've met for a month, so there's a lot's been going on. On Wednesday, May 15th, we had our business advisory meeting here that I really enjoyed. Okay, and I appreciate you putting that together. We had kind of talked about this earlier. It's really important for the business community and the board and the staff to develop relationships as we move forward, because it would really help each other out. The next day, I attended the Chandler Early College graduation. Chandler Early College is an alternative school that is housed over at Chandler Gilbert Community Colleges. It takes on a lot of kids that, where the standard school is just not in their best interest. There were several juniors there that actually earned enough credits to graduate as juniors and are already starting their college careers. I thought that was fantastic. Let's see, Thursday, May 23rd, Basha High graduation over at ASU. This is one of the really fun things we get to do as board members, and everybody got to do one, but I really enjoy not looking at these kids, but looking at these young men and women. And you realize as they're walking through there, they're not kids anymore. Okay, but that's very enjoyable. Went to a really interesting meeting at Canyon State Electric. They have a University of Canyon State Electric. They are a big electrical contractor here in the state. They train their own electricians in their own apprenticeship program. They don't go through the union. There are a lot of kids there. Some are doing internships, some are doing apprenticeships, maybe about 30 in there. Some of the kids are EVIT, some from West Mech, about half the kids from Mesa Public Schools. And one Chandler kid who just happened to be in there by accident because he happened to talk to a friend of his and he said, why don't you go get this internship? I think they want to have a very close relationship with us because of the quality of our student body. So they're very excited about that. We'll try to work forward on that. June 4th, the next day, the teen violence meeting over the Instructional Research Center. Remember, all was there as well. Engaging the community on a discussion on teen violence. I think this is extremely important. I don't think we really understand it, but I think we need to work together with every member of the community. We had Chandler PD there, we had teachers there, we had parents there, we had social workers there. I thought it was a good meeting. It was chaired by Mr. Ken James, who did a fine job on this. But there's a lot of work to do here to really understand this problem and start to make some progress on it. This Friday, the Chandler Chamber of Commerce Education Policy. Chandler Chamber of Commerce has always been a big supporter of CUSD and engages us with the business community. So to set education policy that benefits them and the business community as well as us. And the last thing, actually it was last night, I met a young man named Ryan Gentry. Ryan's a 2019 graduate of Hamilton High School. He's newly commissioned as a lieutenant in the U.S. Army, having just graduated from West Point Military Academy. He's going to continue on. He got a scholarship to Johns Hopkins University. He's heading over to Italy to work on international affairs. What impressed me is that the quality of kids that we produce out of this district is world class. This kid is very, very, well, he's not a kid, he's a young man, he's a young officer now. But that's the kind of students that we are producing here, and I want to continue to do that as much as possible. So I want to thank the district for helping this kid on his way. But he's going to be, you know, a very important part of the future for this country. So thank you.
Mr. Olive?
I would just like to say that it was really neat to see the Basha academic pentathlon folks come around. That was really cool, and it's pretty uncommon to see somebody win that much, that hard, that often, that well. Those guys are really awesome. The personal thing for me, I got to go to my daughter's wedding a couple of weeks ago, so that was cool. And I wanted to mention that because it's Pride Month, and I'm not really normally somebody that waves around rainbow flags, but the Pride Month is really actually pretty important for folks that are LGBTQ because it's in June, because that's when they had a big riot in New York back a bunch of years ago, and the whole point of it is to, you know, kind of normalize it, not advertise it, not try to get people to be something they're not, but to make it okay for people to live like normal people, even if they're LGBTQ. So my daughter and her wife were able to get married, and nobody was really worried about it. So that was really, really awesome for us and our family. That's all I had for today.
Mrs. Serrano.
Congratulations, Board Member Olive. You're expanding your family. So it's summer, it's hot, but we keep busy. June. So June is a special month of celebration, commemoration, and honor between Juneteenth and Pride Month. So I want to share that the South Chandler Self-Help Foundation and the City of Chandler's annual Miss Juneteenth Scholarship Pageant Program and Gala will be held this Friday, June 14th, at our Chandler Center for the Arts. If you have not gone, I definitely encourage you to go and see a display of so much talent within our community. And if you have gone, you know how great it is. It's entertaining and worth returning. Tickets are available through the City of Chandler's DEI office and website. It's a beautiful evening, as they say, of celebration, culture, and empowerment, honoring the legacy of Juneteenth. Now, this Pride Month is also special, along with Board Member Olive's family, for Chandler. June of 2024 is particularly special and historic for our community of Chandler. Last Friday, our mayor and council, with the very special vision of Councilmember Encinas, raised Chandler's inaugural flag in honor of Pride Month. It was a beautiful morning full of pride amongst city leaders, business leaders, and community members that included CUSD alumni, students, and staff. We know students thrive and are best able to reach their full potential when they feel safe, seen, and celebrated for who they are. The flag's intentional symbol has importance in recognizing and making visible our LGBTQIA+ community through this display of support, hope, and unity. The movement and work for LGBTQIA+ rights continues. May it continue with pride, and I do wish everybody a very happy month of Pride.
Thank you, Mrs. Serrano. And I would like to also congratulate Jason on the wedding of his daughter. I bet it was a wonderful event. I do want to, I went to Chandler High's graduation this year, and it was a very different graduation because it was held down at ASU in their, the arena down there. And historically, Chandler High has always had theirs on Austin Field, so it was a very different feel. But the joy in the students when they received their diploma was just so rewarding. We even had a couple guys do backflips on the stage, which was a little bit crazy. But you could see they were so happy that they were graduating high school and that they had worked so hard for their diploma. And a lot of them, you could just see that this was really the culmination of something that was very, very important in their lives. And I was really happy to be a part of that by handing them their diplomas. It is one of the best parts, I think, sometimes of being being a board member. And so I also attended our Hill Academy and our Chandler Online Academy graduations this year. And I was really proud of those students for graduating. Many of them had a lot of challenges in their lives or special considerations that were going on, but yet they ended up having the persistence and the determination to get their diploma. And those are really special because Chandler ends up having these types of programs to help these students graduate. It gives a better life for them in the future having their high school diploma, and it will allow them to launch off into either a career or even continue with the CTE classes and things. But it gives them a good start. That's what public education is all about, and I was very proud of those students who graduated from those programs this year. So with that, we will say goodnight, and this meeting is adjourned.